Hey guys, welcome back. Today we are going to cover a few topics in HTML. But before heading to that, let's have a quick recap of what we had learned in the previous one. In the previous session, we had learned about the preserve and the break tag. The preserve tag preserves white spaces and the break gives a line of break. So this is how you can use preserve tag and this is how you're going to use the paragraph tag. I hope you remember those examples which I had given and you had practiced those yourself. Next, we learned how important comments are and how they can be used by the programmer to debug and make use for the other programmer to understand the code in a better manner. Then we learned about how we can provide additional information by the use of meta tags and how meta tags are important in the use of the view and how you can adjust it automatically adjusts the screen size according to the width of the device, and about the HTML structure. This is very much important on how the HTML structure is going to be. First, we are going to start with doc type, HTML, head. Inside head is the title of the web page, then the body, and inside body you're going to add all of your details, all of your content, and next you're going to close the body and you're going to close the HTML tag. Note that all of this need not be by hearted. Once you start developing your own websites, it would automatically be structured in this manner, or as I mentioned earlier, you can always use the extension over here. Let me just increase the screen size for you guys so that it's visible for all. I hope now it is even visible to everyone. Yeah, I guess now it's completely visible to all the devices which you might be using. So suppose I don't know what is that. I don't know what are the how the structure is. What I'm going to do is type HTML and choose HTML5. The Visual Studio Code would automatically give me a structure like this. So once you start developing your own web pages, you don't need to worry about all this boilerplate code. So that was our recap, guys. Now it's a time to get to the actual part of today's session. In today's session, we are going to conquer these things. Okay, they might look a lot, but trust me, each of them have a very important role when you're like trying to become a very good web developer, especially a front-end web developer, because all of these tags help in making your web page look more attractive and beautiful. At the same time, the last one, the list, if you have ever visited any web page, you surely would be knowing how many lists could be there. A list could be a list of items, it could be a list of like how a recipe could be done. Lists are basically everywhere, so knowing how to add a list in your web page is very important. So first let us start with attributes. What are attributes? So in general terms, what do you mean attributes? Suppose I have a chocolate, or let's say I have a yeah, let's take an example of a chocolate. Can you list a few attributes of a chocolate? So basically attributes are like features, right? So there are three types of attributes in HTML. We will be concentrating only on the two important attributes, that are the core attributes and the generic attributes. The data attributes are important, but they won't be used much when you're actually developing web pages, so I would kind of ignore them for the time being. We'll be coming back to that. First, let us start off with the core attributes. Core attributes are those attributes which are common for all. Uh, like every class or every like every tag, this attribute can be used. Example, the ID. You want to give an ID to the tag, or you want to specify a class to the tag. All of this is common to all of the classes or all of the tags which you will be using. So there is called core attributes. Next is generic attributes. Generic attributes are specific for that. For example, if you're using an image, only then you're going to use a src attribute. Or if you're using an Suppose you are using a video, then you're going to use the width, height, or if you're using an image, or if you're using a text, you're going to use align. So these are attributes which are tailored for only the HTML, like only for those HTML tags which have these specific attributes. A little just on the data attribute, it's like, you provide additional information by using data attributes. It's not, it won't be seen to the user, but it will be seen to the developer who's using that. Okay, next topic. As mentioned in the earlier stages, there are two types of elements in HTML: one, block elements, and two, inline elements. Okay, now let us understand what do these fundamentally mean. What does a block mean? A block is basically like the entire left to right space. So block level elements are those elements which cover up from the leftmost part to the rightmost part of the entire page. A few examples are over here: the address, h1, h6, p, etc. So if you want to, I'll just show you a live example. Let me just type in a heading, right? That would give you a better idea. Let me say this is heading 1, and now let me just add a heading 1 over here, a h2 over here, and write it as heading 2. Now before I hit refresh, what do you guess could be the output? The heading could be side by side, or do you think it will be one below the other? So I hope you made your guess. As just now I said, it contains h1 is basically a block element. I'll just show you over here. As you can see, headings are block elements. So if I just hit a refresh, now although they are in the same line, you can see that heading 1 is on a single block and heading 2 is on a different block. So these are basically in block level elements. Okay. Now let us understand what do you mean by inline elements. Inline elements are those elements in which there is no left to right. It just basically covers only that particular place. This is mostly used for styling, in the sense span. We'll be coming to CSS after we complete our basics of HTML. So I'll just give you an example of what they mean by this. Suppose I just want to add span class, and let's say span class is equals to held, and I close this over here. Okay, I guess you're not able to see. 1 second, give me a second. So the main problem with this is that yeah, now I guess you guys can see better. Yeah, so heading h1, heading h2, and I've added a span over here with a class head, and let me just give it a style, a little bit of style. Let me just give a color and let it be aquamarine. Okay, now see, there is a span tag over here, right? If you can, over here there is a span class tag. So as you can see, the heading ADING has not gone down, it's still under over here itself. So this is how the block, that is the block level elements and inline elements work. So I guess you had a view of what they are and how you can differentiate them. That could be an important question if you are attending an interview, that give me an example of block level elements and inline elements. In HTML, most of them are block level elements. A few like span are inline elements. Next, this topic now, it is not very important, but if you're working with mathematical types of web pages, or if you're dealing with web pages which are like specific for mathematics or tailored for mathematics, this could be very handy. Suppose I want to display, let us say I want to use the symbol that is 3 by 4, or let me just say I want to like show the fraction 3 by 4. And if I just do this, and if I just put a p tag and say 3 by 4, do you think, yeah, it would come with this, which is not the way I want. I want it in a form of a like a proper fraction. So how do we do that? So that is very easy. So first what you're going to do, you're going to put and frac 3 4. Now it looks way better, right? So this can be seen in many web pages. If you head through many mathematical web pages, you can use a lot of symbols like this. I have given a table where you can go through this and you can start using them. If you are working on web pages which require you to use symbols, or which require you to use character entities like these, you can go with them. The most commonly used one which I would prefer is basically and% NBSP, that basically provides a space like this. So wait, I'll give you a better demonstration of that. Let me say fraction equals to, now you can see a small space over here. Let me just remove this and show it to you guys. So if I remove and% NBSP and I do this, you can see that it just moved a little bit, and I just undo it, and now this. In most of the cases when you're styling and all of that, and% NBSP gets the job done, so that is important. And other things, you can obviously go to this table and you don't need to remember all of this. Anytime you need them, you can go online, search for character entities, and you'll be getting that. Okay, cool. Now let us finish off all of them and come to the very important, the list part, as soon as possible, and I will try my best not to get you guys bored until then. Formatting and font tags. These tags again are important, and remembering them might be a little bit tricky, but I'll just give you a way in which you can remember them easier. So see, first starting off with B, what you want to bold a text, it starts with B, so bold. So bold text, done. So how does this work? Let me just show you an example. Now this fraction is not bold and I want to make it bold. So what I do, I add a B over here and a closing B at the end. Now you can see the fraction before. Now this is a fraction which has been bolded. Let me just undo what I did right now, so you can make out the difference. Now this is not a bold fraction. I hope so the bold fraction part has been done. Now let's come to the center part. So center basically centers the, as the name suggests, it basically centers the part, or it may be even the, what do you say, the text. It may be an image, it can be anything. It would center it in a manner like this and like this. Wait, I hope so now you guys can. Now the fraction has been centered. So these are the things. I makes it italic, EM makes it emphasized, mark would mark the element or highlight the element. You can always do them over here. Italics, as you know, let me just make it italics. Now italics. Next mark would make it mark, small would make the character small. Del, the elements defines text at one been deleted from the document browser. Inserts, okay, all of them just have a look and go through. Once we actually start implementing projects, we would be using them a lot, especially the superscript and subscript. This thing, as I mentioned earlier, let me just give you an example how these work. Let me just make a p tag over here, and let's say I want 2 square, so it's like 2, and next you're going to use the superscript, add sup, that 2. Now you can see that 2 is about 2, that is be 2 square. Suppose I want a subscript, let us say uh, I want x. You are marking a coordinate system. In the coordinate system, the x1 would be down. So let me just put a p x and I put a sub. If guys, can you just look back and say what type of tag is sup? Try to recall it by the time I just do this, and let me just put 1, and here it's down. If you had guessed it as a block level tag, sorry, you're wrong. Just now, before I explain that, these tags which doesn't break the line or doesn't break the entire right to left are called as inline tag elements. Inline elements. So these are inline elements or inline element tags. Now this is an important thing. Suppose you want to display code. Yeah, this happens sometimes. Suppose you're writing a documentation for a web page or documentation for a company and you want to display a code. So how do you do that? Basically, code, everything is in a format in monospace, and usually you're displaying the code in a consistent manner. How the code would look like in Visual Studio Code. Let me just demonstrate you with a quick example. Let me just it is called code, and I just write let me say, are you guys interested in machine learning? Because I feel that's the future. Well, it's not going to take I'm not going for the linear that it's going to take over the world, etc., but it's very cool, and I'm currently working on many projects on that, where it can detect images, where it can it detect me as specifically, not as a person, but if you train it on my data set or something. Okay, now you can see that machine learning. I'll just give you an example. Now this is code. What's the difference between this and, let me just give you a little bit more example. Wait, there are a few things in machine learning. You can remember weights, you can remember about hyperparameters, etc. Now let me just do the same thing using the paragraph tag. See, now you can make out the difference between the code and the paragraph. The M machine learning all are in a normal format. They are not in the like, you can make out the difference, right? How the words and text are, and how they are aligned, and how they look. This is the power of the code tag. It is very helpful when you're working with when you want to display code in your web page. I'd explained about superscript and subscript. This is a way in which you can use them. Okay, another important interview question if you're going for an interview. Can you give examples of empty tags? Empty tags are those tags which doesn't have a closing bracket or doesn't have a closing tag. So here, as you can see, everything starts with h1 and ends with h1. P starts with P and stops with a slash and a P. But there are few tags where you won't be using the closing bracket. We had an example of this in the second lecture. I had said about a tag which is an empty tag. Any guesses? Yeah, the break tag or the BR tag. If you had observed, the BR tag doesn't have a closing bracket. So that is an example of empty tag. There are a few more examples like link, image, HR, meta, source. I will let you know about the link, HR and source soon. I hope you are familiar with break, image and meta tag. HR is basically like a horizontal line. If I just want to add a horizontal line over here, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to add HR, and you can see that the horizontal line is added automatically. Now it's looking like more like math equations, isn't it? Our web page is looking like fractions, squares, etc. And this looks like division for some reason. No worries, we'll make it much more beautiful in the upcoming videos. Okay, finally, now this, pay 100% attention. This is going to be your bread and butter when you're going to work with everything. So let me just clear all of this. I hope you had everyone has taken a screenshot or however we want to practice this. Let me just quickly remove all of this. In fact, let me just remove everything. Let me just keep it completely basic, as how the Visual Studio Code would give you when you're starting a new web page. 100% attention. Lists are very, very important. I give you a real world example of list. Let me just say a list of over here it's currently in the month of March, April, and mangoes are over here. Or let me just give you a list of 5 best movies. That would be interesting. I wanted to see how movies are going on. Okay, IMD is going to put me top 250. Okay, over here, as you can see, all of them are list 1, 2, 3. Do you think a person would manually sit and put 1, 2, 3, 4? No, that's humanly impossible, right? So we make use of lists so that it automatically does the job for us. Well, these web pages would be in a different manner where you can just input the data and it automatically puts 1, 2, 3 and the data. But for now, let's try to mimic a web page, right? Let's say I want to mimic this page itself. Why not? Let me just try to mimic this page. Okay, first we are going to understand a little bit. There are 3 types of list in HTML. One, it's called unordered list, where it's basically breadpoints and there is no order. Next is the ordered list or a numbered list, where as you see over here, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. And next there is a description list or definition list. We would be mostly using or sticking to this unordered list and ordered list. A description list or definition list is important but not used as compared to the popularity of UL and OL. In this video, as it's getting already lengthy, I'm going to basically teach you how to use an ordered list and an unordered list, and in the next video I'm going to teach you how you can style and how you can make changes to make this list even more better. So starting off with an ordered list, because here it's an ordered list, and let me just start off, let me just give a heading saying that, wait, let me just change the title. First I'm changing it to movies. Yeah, now everything would make sense. Best movies. Oops, I guess you can see over here. Yeah, now let me just start with an ordered list. Okay, now step 1, as you can see, OL starts the or marks the beginning of the list, and now to list each item. Okay, like this, and let me just copy the name of the first movie, this show, and copy, and I paste it over here, and let me just copy a few more items over here, and let me, okay, this is a tedious not a best way. Once you guys are perfect with this and you start using code frameworks like Django or etc., all you need to do is put the data and put a loop and it will automatically do that. For now, let's try and understand the basics, because once you have strong basis, doing the for loop is a piece of cake. Okay, let me just stop it for now and show you guys. Okay, Now you can see that it automatically started to put, yeah, now it looks better. I hope you can see the code. I just make it a little bit, I just zoom in on this section so that you can understand it better. Give me a second. So here is the OL and OL over here, li. So this is how an ordered list looks like. Now let us, so this is how you can list out your steps, you can list out your guidelines or how to follow, etc. So all of this lists are very important. In a similar manner, there is something called as unordered list. Suppose you want in the form of bullet points instead of 1, 2, 3. So that is UL, and the same way li, let's say, can you guys think of anything? You can make your own list, but for now, I'm thinking about a few chocolates. Maybe movies are done. How about snacks? We need popcorns for movie, right? Okay, let's do that. I put a H2 and let's say movie time, snacks, and over here let's start adding popcorn. It starts in some soda. A little bit of popcorn, soda. How about anything left? What guys do you prefer? Let's say some juice and beer, some juice. Now, as I just mentioned you, unordered list doesn't follow a specific pattern or doesn't label them. Instead, it's going to form it in a form of bullet points. So before I scroll down, okay, I already did scroll down. So I was asking you how to guess them. So this is how it's going to show up on the screen. Now all of this is a little bit zoomed in, so it might look a little bit huge, but once you get back to the normal size, it is very small. That was ordered list and unordered list. And let me end this session with the description list. We are not ending the list topic right now, but the session has taken a long time. We'll just end the description. We'll end with the description list. In the next topic, we are going to start off on how you can implement this. Okay, guys, try by the next session to try to implement this. This is basically an ordered list inside an ordered list inside an ordered list, basically a nested ordered list. Try your best if you are able to, like, nest one list inside the other. I'll just show you an example how this means. Okay, before that, let me just give you how the description list works. So instead of me manually typing all of that, let me just copy this part over here, and we are running out of time. We are not running out of time, guys. Basically, I want to wrap up this session because keeping the session too boring is too long, might be boring. So here is it, and here is how an description list looks like. Coffee, and it adds its and it's like one after the other. Now I asked you guys if you can try this. I'll just give you a gist of how a list inside the list looks like. I just copied this list. So first there is a list. Inside this I'm going to add another list. I'm going to write an OL, and inside that let me just add, let's say, 1, 2. I hope you guys understood. Okay, 1, 2 already exist. Let me say A and B, and here you can put your content. So list inside a list is called nested list. In the next class, take a screenshot of this and try doing it yourself. The code is I would be sharing the code, or we'll be doing it in the next class. And in the next class I'm going to show you the attributes. This is a page from Geeks for Geeks, and I will be showing you how you can use like filled solid circle or solid bullet point, and how to make it empty, a lot about the list attributes, and a lot. uh, I hope you understood until now. For any doubts or anything, please let me know in the next class and we will start off with that. Thank you. Have a nice day.